Ross, listen, I want to ask you from a legal standpoint. Listen, might be a bad guy. Prove it. Take him to court. Prove it. You don't just shoot him.
Well, I think you see, look, this is not an isolated incident in Indianapolis or anywhere in the country. What tends to happen is one of these things happens. Obviously, George Floyd, the most famous of examples, people get really upset. And then there is pushback from law enforcement and people who are afraid. And all of a sudden, it's not a problem anymore until the next one comes along. And that tends to be the cycle that repeats again and again and again. Look, I will tell you, it's a problem with police culture. It is a problem with police culture. And that is not, we all need police. I mean, so you get folks who support the police say, well, if you challenge anything that we do, you must hate the police, which is ridiculous. We all need the police. We all appreciate the police, but we don't appreciate bad police work. And it's not a few bad apples. We've seen that again and again and again. It is the culture that they have. You know, Cindy said it. They're afraid of what they will find. So many of our police officers are afraid when they are out on the streets, and they shouldn't be afraid, and they shouldn't act out of fear. They should act out of training. Why are you threatening to tase someone in the first place who is cooperating with you? Why is escalation your first line of defense? De-escalation should be the role. But unfortunately, most of our police officers are trained to escalate. And most of our police officers are trained that, respect my authority. That's how I take control of the situation, is Eric Cartman, right? Respect my authority. It's funny because it's true. As Homer Simpson says, to mix my cartoons. But look, it's a real problem. And when you look at what's happening in the Caribbean, with our country saying we're going to blow people up without any due process, we can see, look, if that becomes the norm in international waters, it's not much of a stretch to say that becomes the norm on the streets of Indianapolis. We shoot first and ask questions later. And look, yeah, bad guy, good guy, I don't care. I've known a lot of people who were accused of being bad guys who turned out that they weren't. And I've also known a lot of really bad guys that deserved due process, because everybody does. And when the police become the judge, jury, and executioner, we live in more of a police state than we live in now. So people need to see the real world effects of lawlessness by the government. It is a real threat. But I would just like to see, our police forces really look at their jobs differently, really look at themselves as part of the community and not as an occupying force, which unfortunately sometimes they do.